MSCC all hands meeting. Our agenda today is we've asked the folks from Internet 2's In Common division, I guess, to come and talk to us about Federation. So we have several people. I introduce them in a minute here to talk to us today. We're going to get some Research Catalyst program updates, some updates on the Agentic AI webinar series going on, some funding opportunities, which is always important these days, and always talking about our community practices, and then we'll close out our session. Um, so to start with, my name's Al Anderson. I'm the director for cyber infrastructure programs for MSCC here, and my co-host is Jennifer Kim, who's in charge of our CI engineering aspect of things. And we appreciate everyone joining our all hands meeting. And we know it's a busy time, so I hope you get some value out of our meeting today. So I'm going to kick off this with turning it over to Jean from In Common and let her kind of open us up on what In Common folks are going to talk to us about. So it's your show now.
Okay. Well, hi everyone. I'm Jean Horszewski. I have been the director of In Common Academy, where we have been helping the research and education community build knowledge and expertise when it comes to identity and access management. And lately, my work has been expanding a little bit to focus a little bit more broadly on how we can help our community navigate all the change that's happening out in the landscape, and of course, the In Common services that support it. And actually, that's how today's session came about. I was talking with Al and Jennifer just a few weeks ago to talk about MSCC institutions and In Common Federation. But we realized there was a bigger story about what's going on in the bigger picture, and why federation is really important right now, whether it's about institutions wanting to share access to other resources or research collaborations, or some of the urgent federal identity requirements that are coming out as mandates. So anyway, that's kind of what we came here to talk about today, and wanted to take a step back and talk a little bit about that bigger picture and that bigger landscape. So I'm really excited to be here. So nice to meet you all. And I'm joined by my colleagues Ann West and Jody Tracy and Nick Lewis, who are all experts when it comes to the federal landscape, when it comes to In Common Federation and identity proofing, and all the ways that we might be able to support you and hopefully relay some of the stuff that you all need to know about so you can prepare. So, Anne, I'm going to turn it over to you to take it away.
All right, thanks, Jean. Hi, I'm Ann West. I work for In Common at Internet 2, and most of my job is really around working with federal agencies to reduce the compliance burden for higher education, and working with higher education to adopt standards that work for the higher education campuses, and make it easier to support these federal agency mandates. I'm joined by Jody Tracy. Jody, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I work with the In Common Academy as program manager for accelerators and cohorts. And I'll talk to you about some educational programming we have around these efforts.
Great, thanks. Nick?
Hi, Nicholas. I'm a senior program manager at Internet 2, focusing on the cybersecurity community, and I've talked with the MSCC campuses a number of times about Net Plus. So happy to be here and talk some more. Thank you.
Great, thanks. All right, folks, let's get going. So we're going to talk today about a slice of the landscape that you are likely seeing, and then talking about Internet 2 and the two divisions of Net Plus and In Common, and how we're working together to help, and then close with a learning engagement plan and how to learn more. So just as in general, I'm going to just talk briefly about In Common and the different tools that we provide. We connect people to wireless and to services, and make it easier for folks to collaborate and leverage a common access management infrastructure, not only the technology, but how we work together to make it easier, more secure, and scalable. So let's talk a little bit about some of the changing landscape that's happening. mean, certainly folks are seeing fraud concerns these days with respect to things like financial aid, maybe in help desk issues, maybe also in assigning campus card, so forth. And how can we kind of get ahead of that? How can we address some of these ghost students that we're seeing? How can we help finance, for instance, in paycheck diverting, all of those types of things. So there's multiple different places in your campus you're probably likely seeing fraud issues. And those are really business process types of things, are really many cases business issues. So as I mentioned, help desk is a key kind of locus for this particular problem, with bad actors pressuring the help desk in terms of trying to do account changes and things in order to enable them to steal those accounts. And then finally, you're seeing additional federal mandates all over the place. I'm going to talk specifically about the Department of Ed one that's coming up pretty soon. I'm assuming you all are probably have your hands around that. National Science Foundation and their mandate 2 years ago for MFA, as well as the upcoming one from NIH. So overall, Internet2 and through InCommon and NetPlus have been working together to help campuses address this in multiple different ways. And I think the key benefits that we're providing is being able to support these new mandates by containing operations in your security load. So basically, you're setting up your access management infrastructure once and integrating with many. So you're not trying to figure out every time you connect to a federal agency, every time you connect, I should say, to key federal agencies, every time you connect to a corporate SaaS provider or share a service with a sister institution down the road. You can set it up once and integrate with many organizations. It also reduces your compliance burden. So through the discussions that InCommon is having with key federal agencies and campuses, we're looking to leverage InCommon plus higher education standards, common higher education standards for the Research and Education Federation community to make it easier for you to access federal services. We're also working with federal agencies to show how our trust model and how what we provide can map into their requiredness standards. And that takes a lot of relationship management, a lot of conversation, yeah, it's super exciting. It's easier access for your day-to-day users because it's single sign-on for them. Makes IT look great because they're accessing their learning management system, they're accessing maybe your HR and benefits system, and they're accessing maybe the NSF grants management system, research.gov, all with your home credential. And it's help for your staff. We have training, we have solutions. You'll hear one about from NetPlus to make identity proofing easier, identity verification easier, to make it easier for IT to support this all. And then, of course, all of this is governed by a community process. We have advisory committees in InCommon that advise us about what we should be doing and how to roll this out and what organizations need, and NetPlus has the same. So basically, I just want to talk, because some of this is federation related, we get a lot of questions about what does the InCommon Federation do? As I mentioned, the really key piece is setting it up once. So setting up the tools and the integration pieces for federation, and then actually adding a new service to your identity provider. So essentially, your users access the service, go to a specific URL, and the service provider at that URL understands they're from the Federation. They ask the person where you're from, and they redirect the person back to your campus to log in and to send specific scoped information back to the service provider for authorization and access into that service. So it's really taking, right, the kind of authentication and authorization that is needed for access to a service and breaking them apart where the campus does the authentication and the service provider or relying party does the authorization. So it enables users to be able to access multiple services leveraging your institutional credential. And there's a growing number of those. We have over, I think it's now 6,300 services available through the InCommon Federation for this integration technique. And as part of this, we support use cases that are helpful or require privacy, like library access to library resources. We support use cases, and all of the use cases require trust, which is I want to make sure that the partners I'm federating with, that I'm accessing or that I'm leveraging the authentication from are doing what they say they're going to do. What is the policy, the legal, and the requirements that folks are meant to adhere to? And how do I get a dispute resolved if there's an organization that's not doing what they should be doing? How do I get that resolved? So that's all part of the InCommon Federation. Then, of course, security. This is looked after and adopted by over 1,000 organizations. So we have a common security incident response framework, and security's kind of infused in everything that we do. So let's go through some of those use cases that I mentioned earlier. And the first one is help desk. That's, we had talking to an institution that actually quite a large institution that grows their own staff, starting with students at the help desk. So that's kind of a key piece of students looking to work in IT in that institution. They start at the help desk, makes sense. But they're also reducing the cost for staffing the help desk while giving job opportunities to students. Great idea, wonderful idea, very common. The current issue, though, is that help desk staff are increasingly being coerced by bad actors and stealing accounts. So what this institution did is they added an identity verification service. So the institution actually verifies the identity of folks coming in that have privileged accounts. They also layered on a process by which staff members, full-time staff members, did that identity verification. So to remove kind of that burden from the students, and they could just kind of escalate that. So that makes it much easier, much more comfortable for the students to do that, and you have full-time student staff doing the identity verification. So another way that Internet 2 can help, and you'll be hearing a little bit more about this, is NetPlus is finalizing an offering for the community to do identity verification from using a federally approved outsourced provider. So the way this would work is the help desk staff would email a link to the individual. They would go out to a third party, spend a few minutes doing the identity verification, and the help desk staff would get information back about how well they conformed to the actual process. So that's outsourcing all that. There's no need to worry about getting on Zoom and making sure that a credential or that a driver's license matches a person's ID and so forth. This is all done by a third party, and they have additional checks. They will actually verify the identity document in addition. So great. In addition, getting to know and getting your hands around what kind of identity proofing needs, InCommon also has the InCommon Accelerator that Jody will be talking about shortly. So let's get into these federal mandates. I'm going to go quickly through this. 2 years ago, National Science Foundation came out with a requirement that in a month, anyone accessing their research.gov service needed to figure out how to layer on multi-factor authentication on top of their credential. Well, that was a very big deal. There was a lot of scrambling. The net effect for InCommon users, though, is there was no change. Actually, National Science Foundation contacted us, and we worked with them to then work with the IT department to reduce that burden onto the end user. So that was super helpful. We're also working now through a federal mandate that National Institutes of Health has. So they have controlled access data repositories that they are now layering on something called identity assurance, which is the institution's, let's say, comfiness that a person is who they say they are. And that's usually involves going through an identity proofing process. Think of the university I-9 process. It's collecting information about a user, having them show identity documents that prove that, as well as checking those identity documents, and then resetting their credential. So as of January 2027, for institutions with users accessing these repositories, there's quite a few, through InCommon, there are quite a few additions to the requirements there. So release the Nestar user information. Most folks are doing that, as well as multi-factor. The new one is sharing identity assurance information. So again, this we can help with this. We have the accelerator help you get your arms around that, as well as the NetPlus service to help with outsourcing that identity verification, which is the key part of this identity assurance part, a requirement. And finally, I have just a slide here about financial aid. I'm sure you all are deep into this. Department of Ed is basically requiring you to identity proof a person live or by video by October 1st if they've been flagged and their database is a possible fraud issue. So deadline's October 1st, reducing bad actors' financial aid. And there's huge staff burden, huge time to conduct the identity proofing. How do you do it? What's the cost? It's super complicated about, layering this into your existing process. Totally get that. So Internet 2 can help, both from this identity proofing service point of view that NetPlus is going to be offering, as well as this identity proofing accelerator that we're offering. The cool thing about is having identity verification in your toolbook or in your toolkit, not a toolbook, in your toolkit. You may want to actually insert identity verification in your enrollment process somewhere that makes sense for cost and makes sense for the end users, because you don't want to put any barriers across or in front of the end user for applying to school, for sure. But you may want to layer that anyway, just because of protecting other aid or other advantages you give to enrolled students. So there may be other reasons besides federal financial aid that is really helpful to have identity proofing inserted into your enrollment process. So this is just a final slide about InCommon Federation to give you an idea of the variety of different types of services that we offer that you can integrate with, and goes from administration to learning management systems to, of course, the federal agencies and so forth. So looking to hear if you have any further questions. And before I leave this particular piece, I wanted, Nick, if you had anything you wanted to add about the NetPlus service that you're about to announce.
Yeah, thanks, Ann. You covered it great. Just to expand on it a little bit more, so we did based upon a survey that InCommon did last year. We asked if the community wanted Internet 2 to identify a service for the community to use because of all the reasons that Ann mentioned. And so we got a resounding yes out of that survey. And so starting in January of this year, we did an RFP, and we worked through the RFP with 7 campuses, large, small, community college, sort of to represent the entire community needs around identity proofing and verification. And so we were in the final stages of finishing up that RFP. We did a provisional announcement saying that the RFP was provisionally awarded to Persona, given but tentative on completion of a contract. And so we are working through those last contract phases right now and getting prepared for the launch of the new program so that you can use this as new people come onto your campus and for these new changing requirements from the federal agencies. And as we get the RFP completed, we'll send an announcement. We may schedule a webinar so that you can learn more details about how the service works, the special pricing, the special contract, things that are developed focusing on your needs to make this easy for your campus to adopt and deploy to help everyone have a better experience.
Great. Thanks, Nick. Jody, why don't you tell us about how people can get help?
Yeah. So you can imagine this is all very overwhelming. So the Academy is here to help. The InCommon Academy is a set of learning experiences on a variety of topics, and the accelerator program focuses on bringing groups together from institutions with other groups from other institutions to get together and collaborate, learn from each other, and learn from experts. So let's go to the next slide. So the next offering of our identity proofing accelerator is coming right up. Starts September 22nd. It's a 9-week program. Fall is very busy, so there are a few weeks that we skip. So it's actually a 12-week calendar period of time, but you can send up to 3 participants from your institution with a cost of $2,500 for your entire institution. The accelerator is really designed to address that business process that Anne mentioned before, and that may include a solution like Persona. But what it does is really help move through the process of going out into your campus community and doing interviews with various stakeholders throughout the campus to see what they're doing for identity proofing and how to kind of get everyone on the same page there. So we kind of walk you through a workbook that steps you through that process to do that discovery work and then create a roadmap based on that. So the URL is there for the identity proofing accelerator, and I think we can get you these slides afterwards so you can take a look at that. But a very intensive program that we ran last spring, had good results with about a dozen campuses, and we're creating a community of practice around identity proofing from that. So next slide. So as I said, the challenges with identity proofing, it's an organizational challenge, not just technical. So IT can be the driver, but doesn't need to be the sole owner, shouldn't be the sole owner, should get buy-in across campus, and the accelerator is designed to help give you that information and discover who those stakeholders are and who you need to get buy-in from. Definitely relationship building and collaborating across teams is very important, and an emphasis on it's a continuous effort. Identity proofing really is never done. Bad actors will continue to find new and different ways to game the system. And so having these relationships set up across campus is really important. So and also there is no universal solution. You can't just flip a switch and say that it's done or that this is going to work. So it's really a business process for your campus to work through. Next slide. So because 9 weeks is a long time to participate in something and to really do it fully, and we are also offering a workshop at Technology Exchange coming up in October. So if you are attending TechX, you can kind of dip your toes into what we're doing. And we've got a condensed version of the accelerator in 3.5 hours. So it just really scratches the surface there. But you also get access to that workbook. And go through some activities of beginning to identify those stakeholders on campus and what you might do on to collaborate with others on your campus to create an action plan. So if you do plan on attending TechX, we would love to see you at that workshop. So you can just add that on to your registration for the conference. Next slide.
Yeah, so I'll take this one, Jody.
Yeah.
So this is really a summary slide to say identity proofing needs to be part of your business processes going forward. It's pretty clear that the bad actors are coming in from multiple different places to try and gain access to your systems. So really understanding how it can help your institution overall, what kind of business and technical challenges you're having, starting small, building over time, joining a community like an accelerator. We also have identity proofing email lists that we've started for folks looking to discuss the topics. Consider joining the InCommon Federation. It certainly makes it easier for your end users and provides common tools and approaches for your staff so they don't have to reinvent the wheel every time they're integrating with a new service. And then consider jumpstarting your identity proofing with a solution such as the Net+1 available soon. So the QR code on the right goes to a general identity proofing page that Internet 2 offers. And that's it.
All right.
Thank you for listening, and open for a few questions if we have time, Al.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anne, Jean, Nick, Jody, for presenting to us. It's important for the community to know that this is something that they're going to have to face one way or the other. It's not kind of a nice to have. It's you're going to have to be doing something along these lines. So we appreciate you sharing that. And anybody want to ask questions? I'll give some open space. You can put it in the chat, or you can just unmute and ask your questions. So the floor is open.